Marco, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for calling me.
What brings you to Brussels?
Well, I'm here to attend and to have a speech also at the conference of AEBIOM about the energetical use of biomass, and I do represent some way the industry of small-scale appliances for local space heating.
So you rather interestingly have brought fire, which has been in men's home for millennia, to the modern day, 4,000 connected stoves. What sort of data are you getting off of that?
Well, I would say it's still an experiment because the revenue model is very difficult to represent on that, but we are financing this project as an R&D project. And the target is really to understand how users use the product in order to fine-tune the product itself and the product development itself. What we have captured up to now, what we have understood is that users are not as engineers think about. It's not the typical user pushing the button, setting the temperature and waiting for heat to come. There are at least 3 clusters of users. And that is more likely what happens every day. There are super interactive users, there are users that don't want any trouble, they just push a button and wait. And then there are those who are trying to use a pellet stove, which is a fully automatic product, to look like as much as they can a classical fire. So they lower the power, they lower the fan, they don't want noise, and they just want to have a flame in the room to give that little bit of overheating that a flame is expected to give, and stay calm reading a newspaper or watching TV.
Are you seeing that people are reconnecting with the source of their heat?
Yes, I think so, because there's a kind of feel of independence from networks, which is very typical of this area. So just think about all the movements about independence, on software independence, on energy is a topic. Becoming independent on energy is really something that is rooted in somebody who really has time to dedicate to this, because of course lighting a fire, maintaining a stove requires interaction. So it's not for business people just all the time away from home. But if you give value to your house, to your home, then you might have the wish to have this kind of independent energy source.
So what of emissions? Obviously, you're not looking to take the fireplace out of the home. What about wood and the emissions that it generates?
Emissions are a very actual topic about biomass burning in general, and of course that's in the middle of the R&D activity of every company. So what we are doing is reducing as much as we can the emissions of dust in particular, but also other pollutants from the combustion of biomass, in order to make it really sustainable and let's say in equilibrium with the ecosystem. There are different ways to do that, and we could go through that if you want.
It's often said that forests are the greatest carbon sinks on the planet, and you yourself have said that there is no better way than nature. Taking that carbon and putting it into a stove, surely that's not a great thing.
Yes, that is a vision, because what we are trying to do with those products from the technology point of view is to emulate nature as much as we can. So the forest can fix CO2 when they grow, but when a forest is mature, it doesn't grow anymore, it doesn't fix any CO2 anymore. So what we can do is to get that get that wood and convert it into energy, and at the same time another tree will grow and will fix energy anymore. But doing the conversion of that tree into energy, we have provided comfort to the users. So what we think is that people now have a comfort expectation, a way of living that requires heat, requires design, coziness, etc. We want to give those benefits to users without an impact to the global warming factor. And the only way to do that is using renewable energy.
So it really is the only sustainable source.
It comes from nature and regenerates by itself in a very short term. Just think about how long does it take to have 1 kilogram of oil compared to 1 kilogram of wood. In the time we are speaking, maybe a football field of forest has grown in Italy.
Do you think the trend towards pellet furnaces will continue, do you think people will really start to jump on this as they become more and more aware of climate change?
Well, I think that in terms of energy sources, there are different approaches. From the technical point of view, I mean, you might have a central heating, you might have district heating, which is a very efficient way of heating, and then there are local space heaters, which are dedicated to provide that warmth that is different from the standard central heating warmth. So I believe that I believe in energy sources differentiation. I don't think that there is only one way to provide heat. Heat pumps leverage very much on renewable energy in some way. They use electricity but provide heat, and there is a kind of balance that says that a heat pump is a positive product in terms of energy providing compared to the energy consumption. So I think that energy differentiation is the right answer to your question, and so pellet is a way to provide a visible flame. Pellet or wood can provide a visible flame to the user, and that is the differentiating factor of this kind of energy source compared to any other. You will never want to have a blue flame in your living room, I think.
Certainly not. And there is presumably some sort of very primitive yearning for people to have that accessibility to a fire.
Yes, I think so, because recently has been done a survey all through Europe that gave the evidence that more than 90% of the family that were interviewed would have loved to have a fire in their living room. That means that maybe we have not forgotten that we have started having houses and homes and being residential since we have discovered fire. And I like to link the two things, and I like to think that are linked.
That's a very nice message to end on. Marco, thank you very much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure, really.